I'm John Goodson with Radsoft, and this session was on Kanban with a little bit of Scrum twist, but mostly Kanban.
Louder.
Okay. So I got a few diagrams we'll go through. How many, quick raise of hands, how many people know Kanban? Are familiar with Kanban? Most of you? Okay, we kind of come at it from a Scrum view. If you're all Scrum people, you put cards on a board. You've heard this thing called Kanban. I've been using Kanban a couple years. It's totally changed the way I even look at Scrum. It doesn't look like Scrum much at all anymore. It's a full pull system, and I'll go through what we talked about. The three rules are you've got to visualize your work. If you're doing Scrum or something like that today, you've got a card wall. That's visualizing your work. The swim lanes are your workflow. That's great. A lot of us visualize the work. The real secret is the second step, putting visual work and process limits in place. We're going to clamp down how much work we can be doing at any time or throttle it down. So what we do is, in our typical cardboard, we put work and process limits. Here you see a 2, which means I only allow myself to have 2 cards in this lane, or 2 units of some work if you're using points. Here I only have 2, here I only have 3. That's the second step. Then, once I have work and process limits in, and there's a whole strategies on how to find your work and process limits, then we pull the work through. You don't push the work downstream, you pull it through, observing these work and process limits. So a quick example looks something like this. Say I've got 2 in the planning stage, 1 in process, 3 in QA. So I've got a little reserve capacity here in process. This is where the developers are. Say the developers go, hey, I'm ready for some more work. What do? They pull the work. They pull the work through. Sign up for it. Now I've got a little capability here. What happens next? Say they're chugging away and these guys finish this feature. They want to go work on the next feature. That's what we do today, right? Developers finish something. Today they would just stack it up on QA and go start some more work, right? And what happens? At the end of the day, you got a whole bunch of stuff stacking up in your system and nothing's getting done fast. In the Kanban world, I don't get to push it down to QA. There's a limit of 3 and I don't push. QA pulls. So here I am. I don't push, I pull. I want to pull another card in to work on. I'm done with all the work here. This work needs to go downstream, but it can't. I want another card. What am I going to do? This starts a serious behavioral change with teams right here, what the work and process limits do. I can't work on something new. Guess what? I have to go down and help out the QA people for a while. I got to be a bit of a tester. I can't just be John Coder all day. That starts to force people to work cross-functionally. In order for me to work on a new card here, I first got to go down here, help them get a card out of their lane into production or whatever, so now they can pull the next card to QA, so now I can pull the next story and start working on it. And you see how that happens as you run that system? I never, ever stack up work in any one column. New expedited requests come through the system really fast because there's no backlog for them to get through. The work's not stacking up on different people's plates. The work flows through the system as quick as possible. So I got 2 more minutes. A couple of tools that we use in the Scrum world to do the planning and tracking. We do things differently, than you do in the normal Scrum extreme programming world. I'll still use story points on cards if I want to know size, but we try to pretty much make the cards same size if at all possible. We use multiple boards. I don't just use one board for the team, but if you're familiar with this, there's like this cone of planning uncertainty. Early on, you just have some idea, and then pretty soon you get some idea of what it would cost and what the return might be. It gets into more detailed planning. Eventually, the stories show up on my backlog, right? So we'll use Kanban boards at these stages too, so that I'm not planning too much, or I'm not doing too much business case on any particular feature at a time. So the cards on these boards are not user story cards, they're higher level feature cards that break down into user stories later. And then finally, rather than using burn down charts, because we don't have iterations anymore, we just have flow happening, we use a diagram called a cumulative flow diagram. And real quickly, it's over time, we're measuring how many cards are in any one swim lane, one snapshot at a time. So I don't know if you can see this or not. But if I want to project out lead time, and the way we do that with Kanban is you drop a card here, we can say, okay, you drop a card there, 12 days before it comes out the other end of the system. Where's that 12 come from? We track our history over time, and it's the horizontal line from when we start a card to the time it crosses all of the swim lanes to the time it's done. That period of time from there to there is cycle time on that card. Lead time is add the front part, when did I ask for the card and it got out. So over time, a team can track lead times on your cards, and you start to look like Disneyland, the rides at Disneyland. You know, this ride will, next offering of this ride's in 34 minutes. You've got very accurate lead times. And that's it.
Thank you.
Here's my Twitter.